Hey there everyone, my name is Austin. Good to be seeing you again. I know it's been quite a while. Last video I uploaded was, I believe, Skyrim based, but today we're going to be going in a different direction. This is a Star Wars video. So I don't know if you heard, but there's a company called Disney that made a show called The Mandalorian. Yeah, of course you've heard it. Now, ever since The Mandalorian has kind of gained popularity and just taken off, there has been a noticeable resurgence in people taking an interest, or regaining their interest, in Mandalorian culture and language, and just the Mandalorian aesthetic. At one point, the Minecraft server that I'm playing on has literally made plans to make Mandalorian coverts. That was not what I was expecting. But one thing that's kind of interesting about the Mandalorian culture is that it's very based. It's all about fighting hand-to-hand, fighting with blasters, fighting amongst each other over who's going to rule, who gets the fancy sword, stuff like that. But there aren't really any games. No, hey guys, let's play cards. Except for board games. But today I will be taking apart the game of Cu'Bikad, a uniquely Mandalorian board game, and trying to suss out how it was played, starting with the sources it appears in, Canon and Legends, how the board is set up, how the pieces move and work, and the rules of the game. And as a quick little thing, I do know that there is a board game in The Mandalorian Season 3. Minor spoilers, I guess. The Mandalorians here are not playing Cu'Bikad. This is some variant of chess. I may go into the rules of this game to see how it works. But, anywho, moving on.
Submit or fight.
So let's start with our sources. First, we have our legend sources. Starting off, we have Order 66, a Republic Commando novel by Karen Traviss. So, in this book, Order 66, a Republic Commando novel, Cu'Bikad is described as being a game that uses short-handled blades that are stabbed into a checkerboard. Okay, sounds like checkers with extra steps, like a workout, but alright. So we have established that blades are the pieces, and that it uses a checkerboard, or a checkerboard-like board with squares. Moving on to Star Wars Legacy of the Force Sacrifice by Karen Traviss. We also have the game's rules established that 4 players minimum play this game, that it can be found as a bar game. Now this tells us quite a bit more than you'd be thinking. It shows that this is a community game. It's meant to be an indoor game. It's not like our Monopoly. It doesn't have pieces that can go missing. And it's common enough that it can be found in bars. It's just, you walk around, you'll find a Cu'Bikad set. There is one other mention of the game in Star Wars Legacy of Force, Revelation by Karen Traviss. But in Star Wars Legacy of the Force Revelation, it is described as a rough game that is not for people that are not Mandalorians. Space, racism. Generation Tech would be happy. Anyways, moving on from the Legends sources, because that's it. All we have from Legends is that it is a board game that has some sort of grid pattern or a checkerboard pattern, and uses blades as pieces, and that it uses 4 players. I will get into a possible Legends variant of Cu'Bikad, where that will be at the end of the video. Moving on to our canon sources, we have a bit of a disparity in the quality. So, our worst source, but a source nonetheless, is Battlefront 2, a scene where Han Solo is looking for a deserter. Bar chatter in the background of this game, this specific mission, will show a character saying this. Roll clip.
Dejarik requires half the tactical thinking of something like Cu'Bikad. The simplicity of getting those blades where they need to be makes me feel like a genius.
Yeah, not a lot to go on, but we are able to determine that this is a game that is better than Dejarik, the hollow chess, that you see Chewbacca playing, and a few other characters. And it is a game that again requires blades, which reinforces the information from Legends. Furthermore, we learned that it is a game that apparently has some satisfaction to it, as when you get the blades in the right place, and a sense of strategy, as this bar patron kind of boasts that Cu'Bikad is far better than Dejarik.
Dejarik requires half the tactical thinking of something like Cu'Bikad. The simplicity of getting those blades where they need to be makes me feel like a genius.
Moving on to the meatiest source we have, we get to see Star Wars Rebels Season 3, Episode 7, Imperial Super Commandos. Here we have a scene of Fen Rao and Sabine Wren, the former being a Imperial mercenary, leads a group of fighters that harass Rebel ships, but is currently a hostage of the aforementioned rebels, and Sabine Wren, a member of the rebellion who is also a Mandalorian. This scene has some cool bits, largely Sabine trying to convince Rao to join the rebellion through a game of strategy, but hey, that's irrelevant. The big meat of the scene is we get to see the game. We get to see the game, its winning conditions, the board, and the pieces, as well as potentially how the pieces are meant to move.
Blade to cube phase 4? That's a showy move. You play with too much bravado.
Strategy is an art, Rao. Maybe I'm lulling you into a false sense of security.
There's nothing false about it. Blade to cube phase 2. I win. I'll bet your game has slipped since you left Mandalore. Why do you keep coming back here? You and your rebels have imprisoned me. My protectors have orders to give you safe passage through our space. What more do you want?
Reset the board, Chop. I want the same thing we've always wanted. For you and your protectors to join us. To fight the Empire.
I made a deal with the Empire to survive. I made a deal with your rebellion to survive. But joining you? My only true loyalty is to Mandalore.
Well, I'll keep trying.
I admire your persistence, Sabine Wren. You could have been a protector, if not for your traitorous past.
Oh, not this again.
We could still work together now, if I were free. Not for the rebels, not for the Empire. For Mandalore.
Sorry to interrupt playtime, but Hera wants you in the war room for a briefing. Both of you.
So this is the true meat of the game. Start with the board. The board is a cube, 36 by 36 spaces, with the bottom side not being used, likely because it's meant to be sitting on a table, as well as these sides here. Each one has 36 spaces per side, and each of these little spaces likely are where the blades are meant to go. As we can see in this shot here, they have each blade centered on each square. As well as there are 4 per player. You should always assume that there are 4 per player, which generally, given how the pieces can be captured, not removed from the board, but captured and turned into one of your pieces, best to have 8 or more pieces are probably the good amount, just in case you lose some or some break, or if you manage to somehow capture your entire opponent's pieces. But yeah, giving 8 per player is a good strategy. Pieces, they can move in a number of ways, and this is not entirely sure. All we see is a piece move in one specific way to take another piece at the end of this game with Sabine and Rao. However, I think we can figure out how the pieces are meant to move by looking at Mandalorian culture. According to the Mandalorian culture, their doctrines, and their general lifestyle, the individual Mandalorian needs to be resourceful. They need to be able to do things that people wouldn't normally expect, to think outside of the box. It's what made them such powerful warriors. They would have credible arsenals that let them stand up to Jedi, and they had armor that was second to none. Yet, they needed to be cautious. After all, as the way says,
one does not speak unless one knows. Is that not the creed?
In addition, from that Battlefront 2 clip that we showed earlier, which I will show again right here,
Dejarik requires half the tactical thinking of something like Cu'Bikad. The simplicity of getting those blades where they need to be makes me feel like a genius.
there is a need for a slow build-up and a climactic victory. Yet, they also need to be resourceful and able to move around. This, to me, rules out any movement that is similar to a rook or a queen from chess, as that is seen as too reckless. In addition, this move, where it would just be one piece up or down, or side to side, seems too restrained and not flexible enough. Therefore, this simple move, moving like a traditional king in a chess game, is what would be perfect for these pieces. After all, you need to be able to move out of complex situations in any direction, yet you need to be restrained and know your terrain. Also, one thing that I have noticed throughout the game of Sabine and Rao is that no pieces seem to cross over from side to side. The side of the cube seems to be a vertical climb, climbing to the top. Now that we've discussed how the pieces are meant to move, let's talk about how they attack and take pieces. Each piece has a slight discoloration in a 3x3 square around it, highlighting every square where it can move. This is the piece's territory, with another piece being able to attack by invading a territorial overlap. Here is a slowdown excerpt of Rao and Sabine's game, where Rao's piece, that is bordering one of Sabine's pieces, moves in and takes her piece, turning it into one of his. Please note in this segment that I've drawn out, the overlap does not extend into the other side of the cubes. This piece right here has no territory on the other layer, and given that the pieces in this shot seem to be able to be tracked to their respective side, this further backs up the theory that they can't move to other walls of the cube just to the top, in an upward climb. Which leads us to the conditions for victory. Now, from what we can tell, you win by dragging 3 pieces to the top first, making it a race. I know, kind of anticlimactic, but look at Mandalorian culture again and you will be able to find some symbolism. After all, the number 3 has some importance, both in canon and in legends. In the Mandalorian religion for legends, there are 3 primary deities, a deity of war, sloth, and trickery. This would likely, in legends, be a good symbolism for that. However, this is a game that is largely in canon, so the number 3 probably would not refer to legends characters. However, the number 3 has some importance for Mandalore. After all, as a Mandalorian, you would likely be expected to have loyalty to 3 things specifically. Loyalty to your clan, loyalty to your clan's house, and loyalty to Mandalore. The clans were the family. That is what society was built off of. Therefore, I lean more into this idea of the clans and the houses, and Mandalore itself being the symbolism, the 3 at the top. This is a game steeped in symbolism, as most games often are. Not necessarily common, or at least common knowledge symbolism, but meant to impart values on the players. Chess, for example, and backgammon initially were designed to impart wisdom as well as imparting certain moral values to their players, and to the places that they visited. This is a game about the struggle of clans, a house and another house vying for dominance, and their clans trying to climb with them. Each blade resembles the dark saber, which is a historic symbol of power and authority on the planet of Mandalore, specifically for House Vizsla, but also as the hallmark for Mandalore itself. The cube that serves as the board of Cu'Bikad has 6 sides, with only 5 being playable. These 6 sides likely represent the 6 primary planets of Mandalorian space, those being Concord Dawn, Kalevala, Crow Nest, Mandalore, Ordo, and Zanbar, habitable planets and strongholds of Mandalorian society. Each individual blade is a clan, a house, a home, a family under your command. You are the head of your house, and it is your job to climb to the top of Mandalorian society, climb to the top of Mandalore, with clan, house, and Mandalore at your back. Playing Cu'Bikad in real life. Let's start off with Legends. There isn't much information for Legends, but I was able to get some rules and a basic game that can be played according to what the Legends requires. What you will need is a checkerboard and 8 discs with 2 clearly marked sides. 2 discs per player put on each side of the board. As a bit of a demonstration, here's the board set in real life. I am using dice in this demonstration, but the important thing is that every piece has 2 defined sides. For example, we have in the back pieces of paper with a mark on one side, and we have dice here in the foreground. And for example, this coin, it has one side is heads and tails. A clearly defined heads and tails coin will work fine for this. That's just what you need, a piece. Because that's all they need, is to be different. Here's a dice. So long as you can clearly note which side is up and which side is kinged, that is important. Here's sticky note scrap that I made for this. Again, you can use whatever you want. I couldn't find my checker set, so I just used a chessboard, hence no checker pieces. But yeah. Now, the goal of the game is that we are to move our pieces across the board. So you see, we start here, but we're supposed to get all the way to the end. Once we get to the end, we can be kinged, and then make our way back. Now, the important thing is that everyone's moving in a different direction. The pennies on the right are going to my left. The papers on my left are going to my right. And the quarters, that are kind of hard to see, right there, they are moving down to where the pennies are, and there we go, we can see kind of just, they're all just moving in these directions. Now the goal is to defeat your enemies. My team is going against all the others. I'm the dice, I'm going against the pennies. However, given the small amounts of teams, this encourages working together. So if I get to my side and I'm kinged, hurrah, I'm kinged with a little 6. Now my goal is to, fight and take all the pieces I can. So if we have this whole battle royale, etc., we're going after each other. However, we only have 2 pieces. So this game is meant to encourage making alliances. I can work together with the copper team, I can work together with the quarter team, with the paper team, and so on and so forth. So there is nothing forbidding these alliances and nothing encouraging you to keep them. So here, let me just set a quick little game here. Everyone's moving 2 spaces. Kind of just set things moving. So yeah, we all just move kind of in a line. And I'm kind of just setting the board up here. So yeah, for example, if the penny wanted to and make an alliance with the dice team, they could not go after them. But if the quarter, like there's the penny team, if the quarter makes an alliance with the quarter team to go after them, or the paper team does vice versa, the quarter team, if I'm the quarter team, could jump over and take these pieces, and boom, it could be a victory. Or if the dice team is allied with the quarter team, then nothing would happen. Shows alliances and conflicting sides, intrigue and battle. So yeah, you can be 2 on 2, 1 on 2, 1 on 3. It's this whole thing that you can do. Lots of fun opportunities, and alliances can be made. But up to you. You can play the game how you want. Just go in a clockwise formation or however your order is for going. Just don't forget your objective at the very end if you end up with just 2 places left. If you're both kinged and chasing each other around the board, your objective then is to get back home. If you get back to one of your starting spots, you win. That's the end of the game. As fun as the Legends game can be, and trust me, I had some fun with it, it was a bit chaotic, the Canon version is more my speed. To play the Canon version, you will need a tissue box that is then emptied. I prefer the Kleenex brand. They have a nice cube-shaped box. Very, very useful. Very, very good for this. You will then need some graph paper. This graph paper will then be marked with a marker. Each little cube of these 6 cubes, 6 by 6 squares, you'll be making 6. Each cube is a 3 by 3, just because those are a very good size. You will then need to cut those out, and then be taping those onto the box. Alright, so just remember that. Now, we will not be taping it over the hole, but instead be taping it on the bottom. And of course, yes, we'll need tape. Yeah, taping it onto their hands. Very good. Other things that you will need will be pieces. Toothpicks. These cheap toothpicks are good because they are everywhere. This camera couldn't focus very well, and it made the video effect very interesting. But they are cheap. They're basically wooden splinters. There are also a different type of toothpick. Here, these are cocktail toothpicks for like little sliders. These I prefer using because they're a good size, they don't really splinter, and they come in different colors, which are very easy for, you know, different teams and all that kind of stuff. But you can do whatever you want. If you are going to use these, you will need to color them, in which case you will need some sort of, where is it? There it is, marker. So you'll need to color it. I usually just do white and black, like classic chess or checkers, but up to you. And you know, the hands are going to show what it looks like when they're colored. Here's one that's been colored really poorly black. Better try next time, hands. Alright, so yes, hands, very nice. Now, moving on, we need to attach these to the box, but we are not going to just puncture the holes in here first. No, 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 we're not going to do that. We're going to attach them first and then punch the holes. And we need to not cover up the hole in the box, as that will be storage, so we need to have it like this. This will be how it's played, with upside down. So we tape it on, and now I'm not going to go through this, so you can have a little speed thing. I think that's copyright. Here we go, just taping it on, and I would recommend using rectangular tape instead of doing as I did here, because that leads to some kind of ugly folds. Do like that. Simple, straight folds, and clearly the hands did not like the plastic here, so they got involved. Don't know what they were doing there, got sidetracked. So yeah, just vertical and horizontal tape only. Don't do kind of diagonal tapes, as that can kind of lead to some ugly edges. But yeah, just tape every side except for the side with the hole on it, because this game has a neat ability of being its own storage device. So yeah, just go ahead, tape all the stuff, and there we go, it's all been done. Oh, never mind, the hand wants to make sure it's done. There we go. Now, we then need to puncture holes. Now, in this case, do not do what I'm doing here. That toothpick should be gone, but you need to be grinding with a piece of metal. In this case, I'm using a nail file on a thing, and here's some safety. You don't want to have your fingers in the way, so do like this. Have your fingers be a space in between, and you're going in between your fingers. So that way, if you end up going straight through, it will not hurt you. Great camera usage there, hands going off camera, but there you go, you see it punctured a hole. And always keep a little toothpick on side so you can just test to see if it'll stick in. Alright, you can see hands are noticing. I can see right there he's noticing that the paper isn't going in nice, so he's gonna, what's he gonna do? Yep, he's getting tape because he wants to make sure that it's perfect. Alright, hands, whatever you want. But you need to essentially just use a piece of metal. I would recommend a needle or a nail, probably not a toothpick. Those will just break or splinter, and you do not want to get splinters. That's not fun. So yeah, piece of sharp metal. I wouldn't recommend a knife. Probably, again, a needle, possibly a basketball inflation nozzle, or like I'm using here, the tip of a nail file. I would recommend a toe clipping nail file rather than a finger clipping nail file, as it can get to a finer point and make a more precise dot. So, oh, hands, are you going to try to show us every hole? Oh, I'm going to veto this if you're going to try this, hands. Alright, show us how it's done. A corkscrew formation. Yep, that is a very good way of making a nice hole for putting the pieces in. Alright, good job, hands. Yep, test it with the toothpick. There you go. So here's the game when it's completed. It should be upside down with the pieces moved in an alternate fashion. And then you can move the pieces just kind of like this. Have your pieces like this at the bottom, in the bottom corners. You cannot go from side to side, but what you can do is go up in different directions. And you win by getting 3 of your 4 pieces to the top first, which we will see in just a moment. There we go. You need to get 3 of your pieces to the top. Please ignore the other pieces that are not at the top. This is just meant as a demonstration. Hey, it kind of looks like a birthday cake. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I have kind of noticed that no one really talks about Mandalorian board games or the games that Mandalorians had, and with this huge resurgence in popularity of Mandalorian culture and society, I know it's become a bit of a joke among friends when we join a Discord call. We say, "This is the way." Then it leads to a chorus of "This is the way." So, hopefully, fellow Star Wars nerds can make this game at home and play it. I am working on possibly making like a model that you can buy rather than just do this, but this is more than acceptable and has some lore behind it explaining why this is. So, thank you all for watching. All links to the clips I used as well as the images that were used will be in the description. And yeah, thank you for watching.